No doubt we had to take out a little bit of haze, because from here to there is about 2 miles as the crow flies. But only because I was up there I was able to get that. In any other place I would not be able to get that. Now that I have been speaking and speaking a lot, and I'm getting old, and now I realize I'm old, I'm getting a little tired. Any questions? Go right ahead.
It is undeniable the fact that Buddhism was imported from India to China many centuries ago, and it definitely have transformed the Chinese culture as well as the Chinese custom, and now it became actually one of the three top religions in China, along with Taoism and Confucianism. What I want to know is how is Buddhism in India right now?
Okay, Buddhism in both India. Buddhism started in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh, the northern state, is here, and that is where Sarnath Buddha was born. Buddha preached his first sermon, and Buddha died in that state. And because it is Uttar Pradesh here, it went across Tibet and into China area. Okay. The other portion is slowly, by the 5th century, Buddhism spread out all over India. And I come from this state, and I'm kind of proud of it, because from here Bodhidharma is supposed to have been born and brought up, and from there he went to China. Now from here there is a place here called Mahabalipuram, which has a very big seaport even in the old days, and he would have most probably gone via the seaport from here, touching Sri Lanka, I think, and then on to Thailand and other places before he reached China. Okay. Now we know in China he reached in this area, Guangzhou. And like I said, I just want to go back now to photograph that house, and to photograph the White House Temple also before I do my book. But what happens is there was a lot of trade with this state is Kerala, this green thing here. And even today in a place called Cochin in Kerala, they have as a museum piece old fishing nets of Chinese fishing nets, which are just kept there for display and not that they use them, etc. So there was a lot of trade. Even the acrobatics which the acrobats do in the circuses, I think either came from India or from China. I'm being diplomatic. So we do not know again where it came from. But you see a lot of these, the Chinese are very good at acrobatics and blah, blah, blah. And because they are young looking, there was a racket recently at the Olympics that they were underage. But Chinese and Asian women, I'm jealous of them also. They look always much younger than what they are. And I remember when I went to photograph the king cobras in Thailand recently at Khon Kaen University, we met some professors, and one young girl or woman or whatever, about that high, came up to me and said, "I'm Professor so-and-so." So I nearly fell backwards. This looked like she should have been in high school. And I said, "Have you ever thought of doing some research as to why Asian women look much younger than what they are?" And I like the way she told me, without batting an eyelid, she just said, no, we don't look younger than what we are. American women look older than what they are. So I said, keep your mouth shut when you come to America. You open your mouth and say that, you'll get killed out here. Don't come here and open your mouth. But the thing is, they look much younger, and so you'll find there was a young girl in Thailand. She was hardly that small, hardly about 80 pounds. And she used to carry these huge trays with about 10 dishes on that, for service to the guests. So they are brought up small. Now I hear that in the southern part of China, women or men also are smaller than the northern part where they are taller. And that's why they use bigger chopsticks in the northern part and smaller chopsticks in the southern part. This lady is smiling, so I do not know whether it's true or not. But, there are so many stories and so many things that are interesting that you sit down and you think, wherever we came from, China, India, Iceland, blah, 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 I didn't want to be born in, most probably now, I didn't want to be born in India. You may not have wanted to have been born in China, but that's where we were born. But that doesn't make you superior to anybody else. Everybody is equal, including, and I tell these Americans, see where your arrogance has got you now. Now you're in trouble up to here financially and otherwise, and now starting to tell lies left, right and center. especially in this new voting situation. And I'm wondering what the foreigners are sitting and doing, thinking if they can lie against each other so much, where do we foreigners stand a chance when they want something? They're going to lie outright and do everything so long as it suits their purpose. But coming back to Bodhidharma, Bodhidharma believed that it has, to answer your question, when it left India, it was Mahayana Buddhism. There was Hinayana and Mahayana. Now there are two other major parts of Buddhism called Vajrayana Buddhism, which is basically Tibetan, and Theravada Buddhism, which is Sri Lankan. Sri Lankans are pure vegetarians. The Tibetans eat meat. They have very little choice because in that altitude there is very little else that raw vegetable that can grow. So the Hinayana and the Mahayana Buddhism have big fights. Not Hinayana, the Theravada and the Vajrayana Buddhists, the Sri Lankan and Tibetans have big fights. That the Sri Lankans say whatever it is you should be vegetarian. So one Tibetan Buddhist got upset with these guys and said, okay, if that is the situation, you come and stay with us 6 months, and then if you're still a vegetarian, we'll all become vegetarian. And then unfortunately he took up the challenge, he went, and in 3 months he died. Whether he died due to natural causes or whether he missed his vegetable or whatever, the guy passed away. So there is these kind of things that take place all the time. But there are different types of Buddhism. Like a friend of mine from the Wall Street Journal, a pure meat and potatoes man, American, went to the Canton market and he came back a pure vegetarian. He won't even touch milk. So he said, what the hell happened to you? And he said, oh, they are very proud of their market. Anything that moves, they will sell it. And one thing that he saw which really put him off was a whole pile of happy puppy dogs jumping about in a cage. And one customer said, I want that dog. And the guy just took the dog and smashed his head on a rock next to him, wrapped it up in a piece of paper and gave it to the customer, which is quite normal in China. But it put him off completely, because here we love dogs, we pamper them, we buy them coats for $300, which I've never bought for myself. So here it is a whole different ball game. So it depends upon how each person looks at different things. Like right in the heart of Beijing, there is what they call is their Fifth Avenue Wangfangjing Road, and right in the middle of Wangfangjing Road is a snake restaurant. And you go to that snake restaurant and on either side of the door here we have in the fish restaurants live fish swimming around. There you have live snakes crawling over one another. You appoint anyone, he will take it out, he will skin it, clean it, cook it and all that, and he'll bring it. So when we went there, it was kind of sleepy time for him, so they had closed and they were sleeping, but $20 goes a long way in China, in Beijing even. So we gave him $20, and then finally he pulls out a snake, and then he puts his foot on the tail, and then he holds the head and he snips off the head. And that's when you feel sorry for the snake. You really, the head comes jumping out. Then he holds it and he drains the blood, which just is about so much in a 6-foot snake. And then he cut down the side and he took out 2 little black balls and he puts it in a glass and he pours rice wine into it. Now rice wine is yellow. And then he put 2 chopsticks and he broke up these black balls and he stirred the whole thing, and he found all this black stuff swirling in this rice wine. And then he said something to my guide. I was changing lenses thinking, if I use a flash it's going to bounce off the glass, so I changed the lens. Then my guide said, no, he wants you to drink that. So I said, oh God, what is that? Then he turned around and said, don't laugh. He says, that is the gallbladder of the snake. And he was doing me an honor, because the gallbladder is supposed to be good for the eyes. So the cook thought I was a photographer and I needed good eyes, so he was giving me the gallbladder of the snake. But when he was cooking it, we photographed it, and you won't believe after